What the fuck is wrong with me? There's a new segment to the chat. I don't know what it's called yet. Basically, I'm on a tight schedule and I can't always find time to make videos about everything that happens, and I am still very interested in. So, you know, to put them all kind of into one will help me out a little bit more. I wasn't able to get to the Logic track because y'all spoiled it for me on Twitter by tagging me in it. Daniel Caesar's getting canceled for some odd reason, and Kodak Black and Young M.A. I've been wanting to talk about that since it started. Getting over a cold to a degree, so excuse my absence, but I'm here now. Relax. So, Biracial Bobby has just announced that he's going to be dropping a new album soon. Soon to me means within the next 2 months, and it's going to be called Confessions from a Dark Mind. And the subject matter and content that I got from the song was okay. You know, I didn't hate it. It was all right. You know, definitely better than the Logic that I'd been getting up until that point. And what I want to say first off is the music video, I think, is a great representation of how he's trying to ignore his pain. There's a clear gash in his throat. He's trying to ignore it by rapping. At one point, he smokes a joint, but flicks it away pretty instantly to show that using drugs won't help him numb the pain. It's always going to be there. It's still there. By the end, we see him covered in blood. I really like the visual for the video because it's very simple. But it gets across a very strong message, not only to people that are listening to the song, but also to rappers that might be listening. I like how he addresses how he's been reading the comments to tell him that he's never going to be as good as Kendrick, Cole, or Drake. It's definitely something that I would assume would be something that will put strain on an artist's mind, especially when you're trying your best. And that's why I've tried to avoid in every review I've done of Logic's music comparing him to another artist, because I only want to focus on him and what he's doing. But the song itself, I liked. It was nice and it was smooth and it was melodic. Logic was not just doing these really fast flows. He was actually coming through with some pretty heartfelt lyrics. And I want to avoid going into this new project with the thought process of I've already been through some of the shit that he's talking about, so it's going to have less of an impact on me. Depending on how he says it and how he describes and explains it, this could be a really good album. And I've always wanted this Logic because I don't like that bullshit when you're telling me everything's all good all the time. It's not. While he surely goes back into the depths of his story and tells us about how he used to have it hard and how money was tight and how he used to be in a bad environment, that's all good and dandy, but where are you at right now? I want to hear what you've experienced recently that's put you in a different state of mind. And this might be our opportunity to get that version of Logic, which I'm extremely excited about. I'm really happy if he does come through with something that's a little bit more mentally jarring, a little bit more surgical with your brain. I would like that, because I think Logic could do well exploring those ideas as opposed to pretty much getting the fun Bobby Tarantino guy that we've been getting for the last year and a half or so. I like rapidy rap Logic, but I don't need him all the time, okay? Sometimes just feeling you in the track is enough. And I felt him here, you know? It wasn't the deepest song, but it let me know where he could go. I was open to it. Like I said, the visual, the imagery of the video I thought was great. I like how he kept his takes, like the mistakes in there. Clearly he was making mistakes mouthing the lyrics back to the camera, but he kept that in there as not to berate himself to be this kind of perfectionist that social media might require you to be, and just also describing how toxic that can be in the first place. I really enjoyed it though. I really did. I think he did a good job. I'm excited to hear more. We'll see what happens in the future. I'm expecting an album within the next 2 months or so, so stay tuned for that. I hope it's gonna be great. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Now let's get to the fuck shit. The fuck shit is Daniel Caesar and being canceled, right? So you all know how I feel about cancel culture. I think it's the dumbest thing about social media, about progressive, liberal society. Not to say, wait, listen, I'm not conservative in any way, shape, or form, but I'm also far from what is it? Is it liberals versus conservatives? Is that what it is? I'm a progressive, but I'm a progressive to the degree that anything that makes sense is what I think we should progress with. Not to say that we should only progress with liberal ideas or conservative ideas. I just want to proceed. I want to move forward in humanity. And a part of moving forward in humanity is accepting outside opinions. However, Daniel Caesar went on to say during this drunken rant while he was at a restaurant hanging around these other people that black people should kind of, he was insinuating that, you know, they should stop considering themselves victims. Being victims won't get you paid. You should look at what everybody says and take it as a grain of salt. And to a degree, I hear what he's trying to say. But at the end of the day, he didn't say shit. If you want to know why people are upset with Daniel Caesar recently, yes, Jules is this white girl that's, I guess she's a promoter or some kind of social media influencer or some shit like that. And she looks like Logic. I don't know. Like, all jokes aside, I made a tweet saying that she looked like Logic a long time ago, but literally, this is no insult to her. She legit looks like Logic. Like, literally. I swear to God, when I first saw that photo, I thought that was Logic. I'm like, where did he get cake? For a few years now, people have been calling her insensitive, a culture vulture, pretty ignorant to the culture in its entirety. And she recently did a podcast. I think it was called Not the Easily Offended Podcast or the Easily Offended Podcast. And she and Murda Mook and these other guys on the panel or whatever were having this conversation about like things that don't make sense racially, I guess. During the podcast, she was saying some pretty stupid shit throughout majority of it. Murda Mook was also saying some pretty stupid shit throughout majority of it. I was pretty much this guy during the entire podcast. They basically end up going on this rant about things that are and are not allowed from people who are and are not black. And the responses that I was getting from people and the defense that Yes Jules was using for herself just seems so fucking weird, but I digress. Moving on, this is what Daniel Caesar was pretty much prefacing while he was saying that people should move on from what people say. Daniel Caesar also uses himself as an example to say and to try to make people feel like he understands where they're coming from by saying, I also got offended by a joke that a comedian made about me. I just had to realize I was just in my feeling. The shit that Daniel Caesar said that was just stupid wasn't the fact that people are getting offended, because that's not really the issue here. I mean, it is to a degree, but it's not your issue. Daniel Caesar, you look fucking stupid getting upset about Dave Chappelle's comments over you because he's a fucking comedian. At the end of the day, everything he says should be taken with a grain of salt. Like majority of comedians, it's their job to try to be funny. It's their job to make jokes. So you taking them seriously makes you look fucking stupid. Yes, Jules is a social media influencer that has no awareness of the culture that she's within, apparently, which is why she gets so much backlash in the first place. So you telling regular people not to be upset with comments that come from a regular person not making a joke is fucking stupid. You look stupid getting mad at a comedian. That's all that meant. But you cannot compare yourself to people that are upset with somebody who's just racially insensitive, racially unaware, and racially ignorant. Yes, Jules just does shit that any person with common sense would not do. Yes, Jules has always come off as a chick to me that's been obsessed with a culture but never tried to understand it. Because if you tried to understand it, you wouldn't be so obsessed with it. There's nothing when you get into the nitty-gritty of black culture that's pretty about it to me. Sure, there are things from an outside perspective that you should look at and be like, oh, that looks cool, or I admire the way they do that, but I think cultures in general can appreciate that about each other without trying to imitate it or attain it. But see, she takes the opposite approach and tries to make it about herself, so she wants to be included in it by asking dumbass questions like, can she wear a t-shirt that says the N-word on it because she got played by a black dude? And that's not what she said, but I guess she was dating a black dude, he played her, and she said, oh, I want to buy this shirt, I guess, that he made, and it says, I think something like niggas ain't shit or something like that, and she wanted to wear it. Just read. What makes you think that would be a good idea? So this is kind of what Daniel Caesar is prefacing, saying that people should be allowed to have their opinions, but Daniel Caesar talks like a dude that only hangs around people that think like him. And you can tell because he has just like zero nuance to what he's talking about in the slightest. He like looks at shit from an outside perspective because it's not shit that he usually goes through and says this is what you should do, while having no real context or understanding of what it is that he's talking about. And I think that's what got people more upset than his actual comments, because maybe if he had more nuance, people would try to understand a bit more what he was talking about. This is why I tell people to associate with people that don't agree with them or don't think like them sometimes, because it leads to healthy mental development. You learn more from people that don't think like you, and you can get more information and more nuance in multiple conversations in multiple different arenas, associating with people that don't necessarily share your same core values all the time. You learn from your encounters with other people how to think beyond what you thought before. So learning that teaches you to be more considerate when you're speaking on topics or certain circumstances that don't necessarily affect you. And yes, he says he's drunk throughout majority of his rant, but I've heard throughout majority of my life that a drunk man talking is a sober man walking. It's some shit like that. But there's something that I want Twitter cancel culture to learn from this, and I want Daniel Caesar to learn from this. They both need to learn the exact same thing. Daniel Caesar wants people to have their opinion and just be able to get, you know, say whatever the fuck they want to say. And Twitter cancel culture wants people to have their opinion and not have a deferring one. And if you do, we're canceling you. The thing they can learn from each other is these ideas can be taught, they can be expressed. Twitter cancel culture needs to realize that you can't fucking cancel anyone, but what you can do with the influence or the abilities that you have through social media is spark a dialogue with these people, as opposed to trying to say, you don't agree with me, so I'm just gonna write you off. Because the person that you're trying to cancel for their opinion's still gonna exist, just because it doesn't show up on your timeline anymore. You can block the person, mute them. You can try to say, oh, I'm canceling you, I'm never supporting you again. They're still going to believe what they believe. So if you really want to try to influence any kind of change rather than trying to cancel someone, I think it would be better to discuss something with them or try to say, well, this is my perspective on it. Daniel Caesar can learn the exact same thing. Just because someone has an opinion doesn't mean an opinion can't be inconsiderate, doesn't mean an opinion can't be ignorant, doesn't mean an opinion can't be misinformed. It makes less sense to have an opinion on certain shit if you can't discuss it in a nuanced way, which is something that, yes, Jules can't fucking do. So it's not something that you should defend. Daniel Caesar, it doesn't make people victims because they're telling people that don't have the information to discuss what they're discussing in a nuanced way to shut the fuck up. That doesn't mean that they don't want to hear another opinion. That just means that the person they're hearing the opinion from doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. And you jumping the gun to defend that person makes you look even dumber. But I will not cancel you because that's my opinion on it. And Twitter cancel culture, as dumb as it is, needs to learn that before they start trying to get people the fuck out of here. Then we got Kodak Black and Young M.A. I gotta tell you, this is the weirdest thing I've seen in a long time. And people are laughing and making jokes about it. And it is a little funny because to me, the only thing that's funny about this is if they actually got together and halfway through, Young M.A. pulls out a strap on and she's like, yo, what's up? And then Kodak's like, he gives that look that he did before. I've been picturing that for so long. Don't ask me why. I've been picturing that and it's hilarious. Like, just when she pulls out the strap, imagine that's Kodak's face. That is so funny to me. But what the harassment stuff, that's not cool. People have been making jokes about this, and in all honesty, I would look at it as, what if a person that I just was not into or attracted to kept telling me that they wanted to fuck me? And the only reason they're telling me they want to fuck me is because I'm a guy, just so they can get a badge on their belt. Because let's have a real conversation for a second here. People, these dudes that are saying they want to fuck Young M.A., they're not saying that because they think she's attractive. Because in all honesty, if Young M.A. was a straight girl that dressed pretty much like regular chicks do, people would not be looking at her saying, she fine as fuck, I want to get and I want to turn her from Young M.A. I want to call her ma. If she was just the regular chick, nobody would be saying that about her. I'm not saying that she's ugly or nothing like that. I'm just saying if she was a straight chick, nobody would be looking at her like, it's a power issue. It's this thing of, this is something that to most people is unattainable because she says that she's lesbian, she carries herself like a guy, she dresses like a guy, she has a male mentality. I want to dominate that. I want that attitude to submit to me. And that's all Kodak really is saying. I think it's weird as fuck. I completely agree with Young M.A. I think that Kodak behaving in this way is really weird. And his comment toward her saying how you a female and don't want your pussy penetrated should never come from the mouth of a man who's facing a rape charge. Probably not the best thing to say, Kodak. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But that weirdo mentality of getting something to dominate her, I need something to submit to me, and especially if it's something that people view as unattainable because she's expressed how her sexuality is that of somebody who is lesbian. It's weird only for Kodak because it makes him look even more predatorial. Like, I need to find something to dominate. And all the people that think it's just funny, no, it's indicative of very odd, controlling, dominating behavior. Like it's strange. Now that's not to say that there aren't women out there that lie about being lesbian because they want attention from men, because I know a lot of people that went to be fake lesbians because they wanted male approval, because men for a time thought it was sexy if you were into women, and it also made it easier for me to have my fantasy of having another girl if you were already okay with it. So rather than try to make yourself look stupid or rigid, already be lesbian by the time, or already be bisexual by the time we're in the relationships, so that you'll be more open to it and I don't have to have an argument with you. That's happened quite a few times, but this isn't the case, clearly. I think all you people that think it's funny to keep talking about how you want to fuck a chick and keep publicly saying the shit to a chick that has never really disrespected men in any kind of capacity to the degree of her career that she's like called out somebody specifically and said he's a bitch, or I think I can do this to him. I just think it's kind of weak and weirdo shit that people are laughing about it to this extent. Because let's be honest, as men, if there's another dude coming at you talking about, oh, I want to fuck you right now, you probably break his fucking neck. If he keeps coming at you, you probably would. So let's not treat this like it's any different. That's really all I got to say for right now. Again, we don't know what this series is going to be called. So you'll find out. You'll be aware of it. And I'll probably see y'all next time, hopefully. If I don't succumb to this remaining cold.